G'day everyone, how you doing? It's Lawrence back with another video. And first and foremost, again, the sincerest, deepest thanks and gratitude for all the positive, loving, kind, caring and informative comments that have been left on the video that I did about my near-death experience. It's been, for me, one of the most surreal experiences out. I'm still reading the comments to this day, in all sincerity. I mean, I'm still going through them. If there's a love heart that doesn't have a love heart reaction from me, I'm still yet to read your comment. And I sincerely am still reading the comments. And again, the deepest thanks I could ever possibly give to you all. Thank you. So at the end of that video, I actually said if you've got any questions or you want any information or answers in regards to any of this stuff, feel free to leave a question in the comments section. And one of the key comments that was left in regards to this subject was people that have been with loved ones when they've been passing away, and they're wanting to know what the loved one was experiencing, what was happening, because they got to see a couple of physical signs, like their loved one's eyes becoming really big and bright, like crystalline clear. And they do. Your eyes become just like amazingly clear. It's amazing to see the eyes of a human being as they're getting ready to pass on. And the look on their faces, like they got to see, a peace wash over their loved one's face, like literally like a smile, like, oh, thank you. And anybody that's been in a battlefield situation where they've had to take care or nurse or be around, soldiers that are dying, you'll see, if you see pictures or you've been around people like that, you'll see that there's this peace wash over their face. It's like they have literally like a smile on their face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through this process, because over the years I've been around a number of people who have had terminal illnesses, and I've actually helped them prepare for what is coming down the pipeline at them, to prepare for what to expect, what to see, what's going to happen. Some people thought I was batshit crazy, in all honesty, and some people were very, very appreciative. One person in particular actually phoned me while he was going through this process, as he was nearing the end of his life here. So I've had some very, very positive experiences with this side of life. So without further ado, let me get going. So when somebody is at a point where they've got some sort of terminal illness and they're starting to get to the point where they're ready to slip away to the afterlife, or somebody has had a massive seizure, a heart attack, they're in an accident and they're slowly dying right there on the scene. The first thing that starts to happen to us is our mind can't comprehend what is going on. Our human mind is what is our ego. Our human mind is what creates this whole world in front of us. Our mind is our consciousness. It's our mind that connects us to the consciousness, or the combined human consciousness, and creates literally everything that you see. Like, your mind is literally creating me talking to you through the connection of the combined human consciousness right now. So what happens is the human mind can't deal with the reality of what's going on because it has no control. So once the mind starts seeing that it can't control stuff, it starts shutting down. And what starts to happen is when the mind drifts in and out of being aware of reality and then shutting down, and then being aware of reality and shutting down again, what happens is the soul starts to show up. The soul starts to take control in those areas where the actual mind is shutting down. So what happens is, if you're with your loved one as they're going through this process, and it'll get stronger and stronger and stronger, where the mind just finally shuts down. What happens is when the mind finally shuts down and the spirit itself starts to kick in, the essence of who we are, our life force. We are our soul. So when that life force really starts to kick in and you're in the room, you'll actually get to feel the beginning of that divine energy. If you're holding your loved one, if you've got hold of their hand, if you're embracing your loved one, you will start to feel that divine energy. And more so if you've been able to transcend your own pain and grievances in regards to losing, or you're going to lose this loved one. If you can, and it's so difficult. I know it's a lot easier said than done, in all sincerity. However, if you're able to be at peace with the moment and embrace your loved one and put your emotions and your feelings on hold, you will have one of the most incredible experiences that you could ever possibly experience as a human being on this earth. It's why our ancient ancestors embraced death. Death was a rite of passage. It was something to be embraced, not something to fear, not something to be afraid of, not something to try to avoid. And the incredible thing is that as the individual gets closer and closer and closer to that passing, it's like some people said in the comments, they saw their loved one just focused on a pinpoint area in the room. And it's usually in the direct line of their head's orientation. What's happening is if they're still one foot in this reality and another foot in the other, and starting to move into the other side, what starts to happen is there'll be a porthole will open up. And how it starts is it starts as like a shimmering, a shimmer in front of you. Like, you know how you can get hay fever, and some people have their eyesight. I have this happen, where it looks like it's a kaleidoscope and everything starts kind of wiggling and moving around in a bizarre way. It's like a short circuit in the Matrix kind of situation. That's literally what these portholes look like when they're opening up. It's this oddity that will show up in front of you, and it starts small and it grows and it grows and it grows and it gets to a certain point, and then it'll just open up to the other side. And what happens is the individual, when you start to see their eyes going like bright blue, crystalline clear, like clear, 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 how clear your loved one's eyes become is just amazing, absolutely incredible. That's when the other side's opening up. And if you're in that room with them, or in wherever the situation is happening, and you're in their presence and you're holding them, you will feel that divine energy starting to pass through them and into you. That feeling of love, peace, tranquility, all these beautiful, beautiful feelings. You can feel them. They're incredible. 2019, my father had a massive, massive stroke, and I was in the hospital the next day. Whole left side of his brain had completely died. Whole left side of his body was shutting down. And he was in that state when I got to the hospital. He was drifting in and out, and in and out. And what happened was, it was amazing. I was holding his hand, his left hand, which was dead. He had no strength in it. It still was warm and everything, but he just, because his brain was dead on the left side, his left side of his body wouldn't work. So I'm holding his hand, and his eyes are just this bright blue, like saucers, looking at this particular area of the room. I knew exactly what was happening. I leaned over to him. I'm like, it's pretty amazing, isn't it, Dad? And he could barely talk, and he's just like, yeah, yes, Lord, you know, like trying to say my name. And he'd just be looking at it, and I was just like, do you feel the love, all those amazing feelings of peace and trace? And he starts to lift his hand up, and he's like he's reaching, like, oh, it's amazing. And literally, my mother comes blasting in the room. She's like, oh my God, is everything all right? Is everything okay? Is everything, you know, and it's just like, boom, that beautiful moment is just gone. Because she would bring my father straight back to this material world. Whenever he was starting to drift off like that, boom, Mum would bring him back. And I was just like, oh my God. It was just so infuriating because my father was at such a state of peace. And it was just like, you're free to move over, Dad. You know, it's no big deal. So this porthole will open up and you get to feel all that energy passing through them and passing through you. Now, as they're getting closer and closer and closer to that point of slipping away, what will happen is that porthole will actually just open up, and whatever wall or wherever they are at, it's like the curtain in a theater. It just literally just goes, and you've just got this whole new world in front of you. And what happens is, depending on how rooted you are in this materialistic world, will depend entirely on what you are greeted with in regards to our guides on the other side, these beautiful beings that will bring us over. Now, for me personally, because of the experiences that I've had, not just my near-death experience, but my out-of-body experiences and a number of other experiences, I love seeing the beings on the other side. I'm trying to think of what name, you know, you could call them. They're just these beautiful, bright beings, these light beings. I love seeing them. I love being around them. They bring me, they're just amazing beings to be around. They're awesome, you know. And so if I was at that point and the veils come back, I'd just be like, all right, let's go. And off I'd go. Now, for some people, they see that other side open up and it freaks them out. They get really, really scared, afraid. They don't want to cross over. And it's usually because they're firmly rooted in this materialistic world. They've become so rooted in this reality, this realm, that they're absolutely petrified of crossing over. So what will happen is, as I mentioned in the other video, these light beings, our soul guides, they can take on the form, the shape of us. They can take on the form of a loved one. They can take on the form of somebody that's dear to us. And what they will do is they will take on the form of a loved one. Some of our loved ones will actually still end up being our guides. Like my grandfather is one of my own soul guides. So what happens is, if a loved one has already moved on or be reincarnated into a new life, what will happen is other souls will step up and take on the form of who you are. They will step up and take on the form of a loved one. They will even take on the form of the Christ, of Jesus. Now, ironically, the same thing, similar, will happen to people in other religions. If you're a Buddhist, so these light beings will take on the image of Buddha. If you're a Islamist, they'll take on the form of Muhammad. They take on these different forms to bring the souls across. So they ease the scared, afraid, anxious souls across into the other side. It's like when my grandfather passed away. He was very much firmly rooted in this world. He was a very materialistic. I can't say he's materialistic. He was just very earthbound human being. And the last person that saw my grandfather alive went into my grandfather's room at the nursing home, and my grandfather was sitting bolt upright, and he was talking to some people at the foot of his bed. And the incredible thing about it was that the person that saw him said to me, there was nobody at the foot of his bed. And I was like, oh yeah, there was. There was definitely some people at the foot of his bed, all there is to it. So what happened is he was sitting bolt upright in bed and showing pictures to these people that were at the foot of his bed of what I was doing here and what I was experiencing and what have you. He was very proud of what I was doing at the time in the United States. And based on the fact that he's one of my guides to this day, I think he still is very proud of what I'm doing here. So that individual went outside, spoke with my father, they crossed paths, my father went into the room and my grandfather was on his back, the photographs were on his chest, hands like this, and he was gone. He had crossed over. Here's the reality of the situation. They still can see you. I've had a number of people asking, can they still see us? Do they still know we're here? The moment they cross over, they can look back, no different to when I left my body and I was looking down at my body. When you move over that veil, you can look back and you can see your body lying in the bed, or you can see your body in that mangled car, in a car wreck. You can see yourself where you're at. You can see the people that are around you. You can see everything. And even though you've crossed over to that side, and your family, your loved ones, whomever, are just looking at this dead body, the soul of your loved one still experiences your pain, still experiences your heartache, still experiences all those feelings that are going on inside of you. And this is what blows me away, because I've tried to explain to people over the years who have lost a loved one, and they're having this big pity party, and they're telling me, you just don't understand. And it's like, actually I do. It's absolutely amazing, and because I embrace that. I embrace that side of life. I embrace when people are dying. I'm not afraid of it, because I know that what they can see, I know where they're at, I know that they're at peace. Now the incredible thing about it is, right when that person is getting ready to slip away, that's the moment that you as an individual should absolutely try to embrace as much as you possibly can. Because the divine's energy, that love, that peace, that tranquility, all those magnificent feelings, you will be able to feel in that room. And even more so if you're holding on to your loved one. Because when the veil finally washes away and the soul is ready to come out of the body and transition across to the other side, it's getting all that energy from the other side, all that love, everything from God is just flowing into their body, because they've connected 100% with the other side. And if you're right there, oh my gosh, it is absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful. And that it's like, once you have that feeling, it puts you at peace. So if you feel that peace, if you can feel that love, if you can feel that tranquility, if you can feel all those feelings that your loved one is feeling as they're leaving their body, trust me when I tell you this, that is their essence. That's what they're feeling. That's who they've become. And that should bring you peace in knowing that that's what they have become. And the fact that if that's the feeling, then that should be more than enough for you to know that they're still there. And if you can remove yourself from ego, if you can remove yourself from your pain, your whatever, for this losing this loved one in that moment, because you've had that flow through your body, that divine energy flow through your body, you can remember that. And when you remember that, you can connect with your loved one, and your loved one will be able to communicate and connect with you. And I still talk to my father to this day, because when he finally passed away, because I'd shared with him what I'm sharing with you, he stopped by And he hung around for weeks. It was absolutely one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever experienced while I'm here, because for 2 weeks I was able to feel his love. I was able to feel that love of the divine, the peace, the tranquility, everything about it. And it was amazing. Like at 8:25 when he passed, 8:20, 8:25 when he passed, I was leaving my little cottage in New Zealand, and in my earlier videos you can see the cottage in New Zealand. You can see the door behind me, the sliding door, and you'll see a clock on the wall. I looked at that clock as I was walking out that sliding door. 8:20, 8:25. I went to the side of my truck to open up the door, and this euphoric feeling of love, peace, tranquility, just amazing. Same feelings I had when I died, just wrapped around me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I walked to this side of the property and looked out over this beautiful gully, right, that rolled out the side of the house. And as I looked out over this gully, I've got these feelings of this like love and peace and tranquility just starting to wash over me. This wind came and just wrapped around me and held me just the same way that it held me when I was on the other side and when I died. And I was just like, oh my gosh. It was just, the colors were so bright, and just everything about that moment, just everything became so crystalline clear. It was incredible. And this wind washed past my left, it was my left, my right ear, and I heard, it sounded like you're right. And I was like, Dad? And I looked over and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And I basked in it for a little bit, then went to my truck, headed to work, and at 9 o'clock my brother phoned me to let me know that my father had passed away. And it took 3 days to finally get hold of my mother, which it was in the lockdowns during COVID. And 8:25, that's when he passed away. That's when he showed up. So I've been around this stuff. I've experienced this stuff in multiple ways. So if you've got any loved ones that are in this process, anybody that's starting to pass away, anybody that's got some sort of terminal illness or anything like that, you know, feel free, genuinely feel free to share this with them. Prepare them. Have this video, walk them through what to experience, and tell them not to be afraid, because they will still be able to see you. You won't be able to see them, but they will be able to see you. And you know, it's a beautiful process to be embraced. And you know, again, if you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section, and I'll do my best to answer them for you over the years to come. Alrighty? God bless. Thank you all.